As far as I can remember back into my filmmaking journey, I eventually reached a point where I wanted to mimic the film look. The film look has a set of characteristics that are really unique and give you a sense of nostalgia. And you can see this in a lot of your favorite films from your childhood, especially if you're around my age. Today we're going to be talking about a plugin program that I feel is the best product that I've used to get this kind of look. This is Dehancer Pro. Hey guys, my name is Dominic Brandoni. If you're new to the channel, I am a part-time storyteller slash filmmaker slash content creator, and I do a little bit of YouTube when I have some time to do it. I've been in the content creation slash filmmaking space for about 9 years now, not the high-end films. Like I said, I do this part-time, and I work as a project manager full-time. I wanted to give you guys a look at one of the newest products that I've been using on DaVinci Resolve. This is the Dehancer Pro plugin. The Dehancer team actually reached out to me and they expressed that they enjoyed one of my previous short films, The Token, if you haven't seen it. And they thought that I'd be perfect to review this product just because I am trying to go for more of that film look in some of my films. I've actually known about Dehancer for a few years. A few of my friends in the industry have used this product. They've bought this product. Dehancer's actually reached out to them too. I have not really had an in-depth look at this product until they gave me the chance to review it for the last month. I've been using it on some of my recent projects. If you've taken a look at my YouTube channel, I'll be honest, I put it off due to finances at the time because I was a part-time filmmaker, and now after using it, I think it is well worth it to buy it just to get that film look. The alternative for me was the DaVinci Film Look Creator. I held off on getting Dehancer because of the release of the DaVinci Film Look Creator, but I feel like Dehancer does a little bit of a better job mimicking film than the Film Look Creator. I used it on my last YouTube video, coloring some foam footage that I did, and I really got to do an in-depth review on how good this product is and how good it looks like film, and it's great. I feel like it gives you that old movie vibe, depending on your settings, of course, or your preferences. So this year when they reached out, I finally got a month to use it thoroughly, and I really enjoyed the results that I got out of this plugin. So I'm gonna be going through it with you guys today. So just to give you guys some insight, all of the footage that you're seeing today is gonna be shot on my iPhone 17 Pro. This is either gonna be for my video that I'm putting out next after this video or before this video. I'm not sure when it's gonna come out yet, but yeah. I just wanted to let you know that you guys can get the same results of this film look even if you are shooting on your iPhone 17 Pro or 16 Pro. I just want to warn you guys, I am not a colorist specialist. I am not a big industry filmmaker. I am just a guy that likes making YouTube videos, short films, and the odd educational tutorial. So this is just my personal review of the product and how I know how to use it. I do not know every single thing about this product. I'm going to be giving you guys the pros and the cons of this product. Dehancer has expressed that they do not care what I say. They want an honest review for this product. So I've done that. I've gone through it. I've used it. And I'm going to let you guys know what I think. Okay, so let's just open up today's video that I'm going to be referencing for today. And we will get started. Okay, guys, so going right into it, these are just a few frames, like I said, from my upcoming film that I'm going to be doing. All of these were shot with iPhone. And as you can see, I've colored some of these. I've actually switched some of them since I've started doing this. I just want to make sure our screen is recording. Yes, it is. And yeah, so we're gonna get started right here. So I guess the first drop-down menu that we have here is the input menu. You can either choose by picking a camera, choosing from a camera, or choosing Cine on Film Log, or just a different color space, depending on what you want. I decided to go with choosing a camera. I am starting with the Apple iPhone, and all of the footage here was shot in Apple Log 2, so I put that in there. Then obviously we have your general exposure, temperature, tint, and defringe and defringe radius toggles here where you can increase or decrease as you guys want. I think the first three are pretty well known to you guys if you guys are in this space, and if not, YouTube it, learn about it. I'm not going to go through what exposure, temperature, and tint is. Defringe I'm not really too familiar with. If I were to take a look at it, I don't really know exactly what it does, but I don't really notice a difference. Like I said, I'm going to be giving you guys just an honest review on what I think. Okay guys, so this next drop down menu is probably my favorite part of this whole product. This is the film drop down menu. This allows you to implement different profiles from existing films that are in the industry. I'm currently using the Cinestill 50D film look, which is actually a photography film look. This is not meant for video, but there is a video version of this film that I've looked up. It is the Kodak, right here, the Kodak Vision 350D look. So some of your favorite movies have been made with this: Oppenheimer, Interstellar, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. All use that Kodak Vision 350D look. If we were to compare how this looks versus the Kodak Vision 3, it should look very similar. Slightly different. Again, I don't know why it's slightly different. It should be looking the same. Maybe in real life it's slightly different, but online it did say that the Kodak Vision 3 50D is the film version of the Cinestill 50D look. Another cool profile that I looked up was the Fuji Eterna Vivid 500. A few movies that use this is Black Swan, Hunger Games, and there was one more that I forget. It is American Hustle that all reference this look. Now, funny enough, this actual film was, I believe, expired in 2013. I don't know if that means they stopped production in 2013 or if they stopped using it in the industry in 2013, but we have the capability to use different past film looks. You can see the difference here. If we wanted to use the Fuji Reala, I think that's how you pronounce it, 500D, I'm going to put it back to the Cinestill 50D here. Next, we have the push and pull toggle. So this push and pull toggle allows you to either overdevelop or underdevelop. So it gives you more of the film look or under the film look. Now, it's not traditionally like you're adding a LUT where you're just cranking it so it's got more color or decreasing the color. It actually gives you a result that's essentially like overdeveloping or underdeveloping film. Next, we have the film developer drop-down menu, or the tab, whatever you want to say. I think most of these are pretty straightforward. You can alter your contrast or decrease your contrast. You got your gamma correction. You have your color separation. I don't know exactly what this does, the color separation. I haven't really noticed any results. I don't know if it's more in the grain, but I didn't really notice anything here with the color separation. So I'm just gonna leave that. Or we have your saturation where you can increase or decrease your saturation. That's what I think color boost is. Okay guys, so next we have the film compression drop-down menu here. We're gonna start with the impact toggle here. So the impact toggle, essentially, the more you increase it, the more that the highlights compress into the sections of the midtones, like the same, I guess we'll say the same, I don't know if it's like exposure as the midtones. That's what I see. It compresses it closer to the midtones. White point, I think, is pretty straightforward. The more you decrease it, the brighter the highlights get. The more you increase it, the more they lower the highlights here. So next we have the tonal range. Honestly, didn't know what the tonal range was when I was toggling with it. I didn't see much difference when I was moving this, but essentially it's the compression starting from the highlights all the way to the shadows here. I don't notice that much of a difference with the tonal range. I didn't really touch that too much. So next we're gonna do the color density. So essentially for negative films, there's a little bit less saturation in the highlights, which is a characteristic of film. So if we were to lower this, this would be a little bit less saturation in the highlights. I don't notice a difference too much here when it comes to this. Maybe it's something that I'm not doing correctly. Essentially, the lower this color density is, the less saturation there is in the highlights, giving you more of a negative film look. And the higher the color density, is supposed to give you more saturation, which is more of a positive film look. Honestly, from a visual standpoint, I don't really notice the difference too much. So next we have the expand tab. There is the black point and white point. And this white point is a little bit different than this white point up here. This one affects the overall image, while this one affects the film compression. I honestly don't really see too much of a difference when I'm adjusting this white point. Maybe it's my settings, I'm not sure. I don't see too much of a difference. Then we have the color mode. So color mode, normal affects the whole image, and luma affects only the luminescence part of the image, so more of the highlights. So if we were to alter the, for example, white point, you can see that the white point's increasing there. There's a little bit saturation in the highlights here. We have a little bit of blue. If we were only to go the luma version, it removes that saturation inside of those highlights. I'm gonna stick with normal. I like the little bit of the blue look, and we're gonna revert that back to normal. Okay, so next we have the print drop-down menu. Now, I don't know too much about prints and, like I said, about film, but from what I know, that these different choices are regarding to the paper that your film would be printed on if this was the analog days. So you have linear, Cineon film log, Fujifilm, a print film, Kodak 2383 print film, and the Kodak Indura glossy paper. That's from my understanding on how it works. Okay, next we have the target white toggle here. So this essentially allows you to adjust the, I guess, color tones of the printing light source. So in this case, there's not necessarily a light source, but the highlights would essentially be the closest thing to the light source. So if we were to toggle this, you get a little bit more saturation. And if we were to detoggle that, you get a little bit less saturation here. This target white toggle only works with certain profiles. So if you're in linear, it doesn't work. Cine on film, it doesn't work. But with the Fuji 3513 print film, it works, as well as, I think it's this one right here, the print film. Only the print film looks in this drop-down menu work with the target white toggle here. The exposure here is related to optical curves that are related to the profiles of the film. I'm not really familiar with that, but you can see that this affects the contrast along with the exposure, while the other one doesn't really affect the contrast as much. There's still a little bit of contrast left in the darker part of the images. It brightens it up a bit. Next, we have the tonal contrast. So if we were to toggle this tonal contrast here, it applies a little bit more contrast and less contrast, gives you a little bit more punch or softens up the image depending on what you like. For me, I'm gonna leave it at 0 here. That's what I like. I might manipulate this later in the film, who knows. And then we have color density. So I have this at 86. This looks like it affects the saturation of the shadows on the highlights as well, from just playing with the toggle. From what I read online between the manual, it just essentially makes certain spectrums of the colors increase and decrease, I believe. So you can see here, we have the blues, in the trees here. If I were to lower this, it would actually take away that blues, but it doesn't overdo the whole image. It only does like certain parts of the image. So you can see that the blue, almost like a chromatic aberration in the trees there. I don't want to call it chromatic aberration because that might not be the proper term for this. Essentially, you can see that it does increase or decrease that saturation there. And then we have general saturation for the overall image, which is pretty straightforward. Next, we have the color head drop-down menu. I probably won't use this too much, but essentially you can manipulate the blues, the yellows, the greens, magnetas, the cyans, and the reds. So essentially, if you were to increase this or decrease this, you can see that the cyans and the reds are affected, the magnetas and the greens, and the blues and the yellows. I probably won't touch this too much right now for this specific image. But if you guys wanted to manipulate those, they'd be there. You can also gang them where you can move them all together. So if you were to increase them or decrease them, they would all work together. And then we also have the shadows and the midtones. We can just manipulate the colors of the midtones, looks like. So if you want to go a little bit more blue, a little bit more yellowy green. Again, the shadows are getting manipulated here in regards to color. And you can preserve and unpreserve the exposures. I don't know exactly what these do. I don't really see a difference with these impacts here. Again, I probably won't use that too much, so we won't get into depth with it because I don't have a full understanding of everything that's going on here. Next, we have a film grain. This is pretty straightforward. So depending on what type of film grain you want and the ISO you want to level it at, we have 8mm film grain here. I just stuck with the 35. So we can, if we were to go close up here, seeing the highlights in the sky here, if I were to go with like a 8mm, it should be larger and chunkier, which it does make it larger and chunkier. And we can actually increase or decrease the amount of grain we have here. I feel like the grain in this plugin is a little bit better than the one that's in the film look creator. It gives more of a realistic film look. Then next we have halation. Obviously same idea here. We do have the different types of halations profiles here. You can choose from different ones here. So if you guys aren't familiar with halation, if we were to look at the light source right here, you see that there's a little bit of like a red, I don't want to, again, I relate to chromatic aberration, but it's sort of a light leak coming from here. So if we were to lower this halation, it's not as much, and there's more here. You can see that there's an increase of the, like almost like a blooming effect, but there is a bloom effect for that too. So I'm gonna leave that at its standard look right here. We could do a mask mode for this as well, so you can actually see the source of the light and how much it's actually putting out. But I like looking at the image and just seeing how much I can do, because this is the image I'm gonna be working with. Here we have different looks for the halation. Again, I don't notice the difference too much. This one has a little bit more halation. I think that's a little bit too much overkill, but we're gonna go back to the 35, Super 35 here. But yeah, I think that looks cool. And yeah, halation is one of those characteristics you'll see in the old films. I've actually been watching X-Files lately, and you can really see in the light sources that there's a halation in there. If you guys want to reference some old shows or films, X-Files is a good one. So next we have the bloom drop-down menu. We have, again, different profiles for the different types of films here. And we can actually, if we were to zoom into this light source, we can actually increase or decrease the blooming come from the light source. The problem with this specific shot is the highlights are treated as a light source, which I guess it is. It'd be better if you can actually just manipulate the light source here. As you can see in the mask mode, you can't really tell here. You can see that everything's blooming here and nothing's blooming there now, but I feel like once you bloom it too much, it looks a little bit too washed out for my liking. But again, this is all personal preference. So next we have film damage. For those of you guys don't know what film damage is, film damage is essentially characteristics in film that show up on the screen. So you might see like dots or scratches come up here. I don't really see too much here, but if we were to increase the film damage here, like right, you can see right here. So you'll see like those white spots poke up. If you guys see those white spots when you're watching old film or even like old shows, you'll see like white spots pop up. I don't really like too much film damage. You have also the toggle to increase the jitter of the film damage. Okay, so next is the film breath toggle. It's gonna be hard to see this on the video here, but essentially what this does is, I wanna say it's like, I don't even know how to explain it in my own terms, but essentially when the film's running, there's a little bit of change in color and exposure in the image. You can probably slightly see this on here. So if you look at the brick wall, it's slightly changing from green to pink, slightly increases in exposure and decreases in exposure. This is something to do with the film and the way it runs on the camera. I probably won't use this too much, only for specific scenarios or specific look. So I'm gonna keep that off for this specific image. The reason why I showed you on this image is because there's a little bit of shadows in here. If I were to show you on this image too, it's harder to see here, but you can see that the tones here in the shadow specifically are changing a little bit. But again, I probably won't use that too much. That's also cranked at 100%. So probably never crank that at 100%. Okay, so next we have the gate weave drop down menu. So back in the day, a lot of cameras were not digitized. A lot of things moved in cameras. And the best way that I can explain this is that the gate weave, when the film's moving within the camera, it sort of, I guess, shakes the image a little bit. So if we were to not have this enabled, you can see that the image doesn't move too much. And if we were to enable this, there's gonna be a slight jitter to the actual image. So the gate weave is essentially jittering the image so ever so slightly, because the film in reality, and the film in the olden days was actually scrolling through the camera. That's what I understand what the gate weave is. Okay, the next drop down menu we have here is the overscan menu here. If you would actually scan the film right from the film strip, you would obviously see all the outlines of the film. You'd see the sides, you see the middle. There's different profiles, but they call them gates. That's the proper term, but I'll say profiles because this is digital, where you can actually include them. So if I were to enable this right now, you can see that the widescreen gate type here gives you this sort of look, right? I'm gonna switch this to vertical there. So yeah, if you wanted to switch this to vertical, it'll obviously make everything in vertical shape. And then there's obviously Super 35, a little bit larger, Ultra 16, a little bit larger, right? So essentially it's the film scans right here that you see here. And you can do this as a positive or a negative. That affects the little circular portion here. Again, I'm no film person, but I do apply some of these effects to some of my footage once in a while. But this actually gives you like more of manipulation towards this. Having all these options can sort of give you a unique look when you're implementing these effects, which I think is cool. You can actually offset the film left or right here, the gate focus. So if you guys, I don't know exactly what this does, but from what I can tell, the focus around where the scan is slightly duller than the image. So if I were to reduce the gate focus here, it'd be a little bit sharper, or if we were to increase it, it'd be a little bit less focused on here. I think for a vintage look, I'd go with a more of a defocused image. You can also zoom the lens and de-zoom the lens. These are set up with the regular profiles. You can actually, you can actually flip the location here of the, I guess, I don't even know what this little portion's called, but we'll say it's the perforation mode square, we'll call it. These are actually set profiles for whether or not they're rounded or circular on the edges here. I think this gives you a little bit more play if you're going for like a Super 8 film vibe. A lot of people are into Super 8 film right now. So if you wanted to mimic Super 8 film into your films, whatever, I think a lot of weddings that I've seen are implementing them now. I can't even tell if they're real or fake, but this will give you a little bit more play when you're trying to get that look of that old vintage film Super 8, those old vintage camera looks. Vignette, pretty straightforward. You can increase or decrease the vignette. I'm not gonna get too much into there. You can increase the feather size ratio and all that stuff. These are like more special effects for exposure and stuff. If you wanted to monitor the false color of the image, you can implement these. So if I were to turn this on, you'll see the different color temperatures. Now, normally I think your skin tones you want to sort of be in here, or your mid-tones you want to be in this range, the gray to pink range. Maybe the pink slightly highlighted, and then the 50 would be the grays here. This stuff is overkill, so you can see that this is a little bit of information maybe slightly lost. But yeah, you want to be in between the grays here for your mid-tone, for your focus subject. That's what I normally do when I'm shooting on my pocket cinema camera. But if you don't have a camera that does that, at least you can manipulate the image here, especially this being Apple ProRes RAW. I can use this to manipulate my image and see if I'm actually exposing it right. There's also a clipping indication here. I think this tells you exactly what is clipping and what's not clipping. I don't think I have anything that's clipping here, so I can't really show you guys there. Let me see if there's another image here. Yeah, I don't really see anything here that's clipping at all. Output, I think this just overall affects how much all these settings are on your footage. So this in my mind is a little bit more closer to increase or decrease how much of like a LUT you would want to implement. All the settings that we've made in here, if I were to decrease this would desaturate it and make it closer to the original raw footage color tones, and then obviously increasing is the full maximum amount. I'd probably keep it at the full amount. I like the way the image looks here. Got that cold dark vibe there. And we have a LUT generator here. I haven't used this yet. But maybe I will create some LUTs and give them to you guys. I think that would be cool. And yeah, that is it for the Dehancer Pro. Okay, so we're gonna get into the pros and the cons of Dehancer Pro. So pros, obviously the product speaks for itself. I've only ever used two different, I guess we'll say, film looking products. We have the DaVinci Film Look Creator, and then we have this one that I've only used. I haven't used anything else personally. I've seen other ones, but I haven't played with them, so I can't really review them. I feel like this blows the Film Look Creator out of the water. If you're a beginner, maybe start with the Film Look Creator and then move your way on to Dehancer. Dehancer gives more of that realistic film image. It speaks for itself. Another thing is the profiles, the capability to have all these film profiles in the app. I love that. I love that we can pick from film profiles that are implemented on big Hollywood screen movies. I love that we can customize it and manipulate it in that sense. I feel like another thing we take for granted, obviously other apps have this too, but it enables you to sort of manipulate the image based on what camera you're doing. It makes it easy. Like when we're doing the inputs for the different images, I can say that it's an Apple camera or an Apple iPhone camera and it's log 2. They have this capability in DaVinci Resolve. I don't know which one does it better, but just making that process easy for all of your customers is good. Instead of guessing the color science, doing it by camera is a little bit easier than doing it based on color science, because sometimes you might not know and you have to go digging in your phone for the color sciences. This maybe speeds things up a little bit in terms of that sense. This is like a film emulation tool. So this is going to give you a little bit more features when it comes to actually developing film and stuff like that we've already gone through. We have the film compression. We have like the printing light source manipulation, and we have like the different papers you can print on. The Film Look Creator doesn't have that. This gives you that little bit more of that realistic analog feel to it, that look to it. Again, I mentioned during the video that I feel like the grain looks a little bit more realistic to like a film camera compared to like the grains that are built into DaVinci Resolve. I feel like the grain looks better in the Dehancer plugin. One thing that I found that isn't on the Film Look Creator in DaVinci Resolve is the film breath, which is the manipulation of the colors and the exposure because of the film running. It's a characteristic of film. I probably won't use it much, but it's good to have it. If you want to give that, again, more of a realistic feel to that film, that capability's in there. Film Look Creator does not have that. You might have to get used to knowing exactly how it manipulates your image. If you're not familiar with film, maybe it's worth it to look into it a little bit more. They actually have a guide on the Dehancer website that goes through all of this stuff. I've read it briefly. It's just hard for me to memorize all of this information at once and give it to you guys in the video. So if you guys want a little bit further of a education on how all of these manipulate your image, you guys can go to Dehancer website, and they actually have a breakdown of how each setting manipulates everything. I will link it in the bio. Now let's go to the cons of this product. I don't have too many cons. One thing that I wish they had is live previews. For example, if I were to go into, for example, the profiles, and I wish I could just scroll through these and see the image come up here instead of clicking each one and going back into it. I feel like that would make it a little bit quicker to scroll through all these things. I don't know if that's a Dehancer thing, or I don't know if that's a DaVinci limitation, so I can't really speak on that in regards to the product, but it would be cool if you can actually see the live preview here. I feel like too, a lot of stuff in here is really spread out. I feel like the film grain, the halation, the bloom can maybe be in one package. I feel like all this stuff you have to do the drop down menus. This isn't me nitpicking. This is not a big deal. Again, I feel like this could be a little bit more compact or something like that. I feel like the more compact everything is, the better it looks. But again, just me nitpicking, not a big deal. Other than that, I don't have any, I guess, complaints about the product itself. I feel like the product runs really good. It's pretty straightforward. The instructions are really good when you can download it. Having that capability to shoot digital video and then turn it into something nostalgic, something with a little bit more characteristics like this film look, this film emulation look, is amazing. But you know what it would be even better is if you could do it for photos. Well, Dehancer has you there too. So they also have a Lightroom plugin, which we're gonna go through right now quickly. I believe that the Lightroom plugin is a little bit newer. I don't remember seeing it a long time ago on their website, but when I did see it, I thought, oh, like, it's so amazing that we can do this for photos now, because I've been wanting to get the perfect film look for some photos. So we're gonna get into this right now. We're gonna edit some photos of me and my fiance Allie here. I'll just give you guys a quick tutorial on how I edit this. Let's pick a decent picture of us. So let's go with this picture right here. So we got this picture of me and Allie. Any manipulation that you want to do to your image, like color grading or anything, before you bring it into the Dehancer Lightroom plugin, you're going to want to do first. That's what I recommend. So I'm just going to copy the colors from this image and then bring it into this image right here. I'm going to just apply all the masks. Let's hope it all lines up. So we get this image of me and Allie. I'm just going to straighten this out quick. So then what you want to do is, once you're in Lightroom and you've done all your edits to it, you're going to want to right click and then go edit in Dehancer Lightroom plugin. So that's gonna bring you here. And obviously you wanna edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. It's gonna open up the Dehancer tool here. Obviously you can pick from the different profiles again. So we have all the films, color negative films. This gives you a little bit, this filters a little bit more into what type of films you want. I don't know what I want. Let's go with exotic. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. So maybe we'll go with that one. The Prokudin Gorsky 1903 experimental one. I feel like some stuff's a little bit saturated, but you have all the same, pretty much all the same capabilities here as you do in the Dehancer Pro tool for DaVinci Resolve. So we can do exposure compensation. I'm probably just gonna lower this a bit. Temperature, I'm gonna maybe go a little bit less yellow. Maybe we'll leave that there. I feel like the image is a little bit too purpley when it comes to the highlights. You can see a little bit of purples in the highlights. So we're gonna go with a little bit more green. Make it a little bit more green like that. Defringe, again, I didn't know what this does. I still don't know what this does in here. So we're just gonna leave the defringe as that. And we have the total impact for the color profile. So this is essentially how much the image is gonna be affected by all the changes that we make. So this is essentially the standard image, and then we're gonna go impact. I'm gonna probably lower this to like about there. Contrast boost, I don't know if we're gonna do a contrast boost. Might just do a contrast boost like a little bit there, maybe a little less. You don't want it to be too contrasty. Gamma correction, we're gonna increase that a little bit just to give a little bit of a lighter feel. Color separation, I don't really notice the difference with the color separation. Then we're gonna go color boost. Probably, we don't have to go that much, that's a little bit too much. Right there. Then we got the film compression impact. So the more we increase this, the more the film gets compressed, starting with the highlights going down all the way to the shadows. So you'll see it more in the highlights here, probably not so much in the shadows. I think I'm gonna crank this up. I wanna see the highlights as much as I can. Maybe we'll bring the white point down a little bit. Don't think we're gonna get too much out of the sky here. And then we got the tonal range. I do not like how my shirt and the dress goes a little bit blue, so we're just gonna lower that again. Color density, again, I don't notice too much with that. There's slightly, actually this is where the color density does manipulate the highlights a little bit. So let's go to the impact a little high, and then we're gonna do the color density low to remove that saturation from the highlights. I might have to also lower the impact a little bit once we reduce the color density there. I think I'm gonna actually reduce the contrast a bit. Black point, white point, probably gonna leave the same. Maybe we'll play with the white point a little bit. Okay, we're gonna do that. And let's see, the Luma versus the normal. I think we're gonna leave it normal. I'm okay with the normal. I think I'm gonna reduce the color boost. I go back and forth a lot, guys, so I apologize. We're just gonna reduce the color boost a bit. And then we're gonna go into, let's see, target white. We're gonna try the different profiles here, see if I like any of them. Ooh, the glossy paper looks good. Kodak film print. I don't think I'm gonna go with the Kodak. Fujifilm, too blue for me. Cineon film log, definitely not. Let's go with glossy paper, or should we just go linear? Let's go glossy paper. Let's try glossy paper for this round. It's a little dark. Let's reduce the contrast a bit. I think I should have touched Ali's eyes up before I did that, but it's okay. I feel like the saturation's good. Color head I'm not gonna touch, I'm okay. Maybe we'll just do the highlights a little bit less blue. We'll go a little bit more yellow. And then we're gonna go down to the film grain. Let's do 16 mil, or maybe 8 mil. I think 8 mil is too much. Let's do 16 ISO 50. I feel like that's not enough though. Let's do 16 ISO 500. Yeah, maybe in between there, so 250. Oh, I guess you can't really choose the film grain limiter there. So I think we're gonna stick with that one. Or if we wanna go custom, if we do custom, we can actually manipulate it. So let's just do custom here. Custom. I think I'm gonna leave the rest the same. I'm happy with it. And then we got halation. So we're gonna look at the light sources here on the trees and around the edges here of the building. Let's do 35, super 35, or let's try the 60. So you can see it, the more increase the source limiter, the less halation there is. So let's go a little bit of halation, background gain. I don't really notice too much with the background gain, smoothness. Let's make it really smooth. Local diffusion. Ooh, here we go. Okay, so diffusion, we're gonna do a little bit. It's not enough. Just a little teeny weeny bit. I don't want to go too much. And I think we're gonna leave the rest the same. Bloom. We're gonna sort of make it bloom a little bit more. Film damage. Should we do film damage? I don't know. I don't think I want to do film damage. We're gonna leave that out. Overscan, nah. Vignette, nah. I am gonna reduce the saturation though again. I feel like I do not like the saturation on this. So let's reduce the color boost a little bit. Yeah, let's go right there. So that's the image there. Obviously the capability to have the profiles and everything, I feel like all the pros are the same. Only con I don't like is you have to go into an external app to do a lot of these things. I don't really like the fact that you have to do that. I wish you could do it all built into the Lightroom app. Again, it might not be a restriction in regards to Dehancer, it might be a Lightroom restriction. I'm not sure how the way these things work on the coding side of things when they're developing these applications. But having these capabilities to get more of a film look, I feel like film look is still in when it comes to photography right now, especially weddings. A lot of wedding photographers are having the capability to do film, and this gives you the most realistic version of the film. So guys, in conclusion, do I think you should get Dehancer Pro? Yes, I feel like if you can afford it, please get the Dehancer Pro. If you can't afford a lifetime membership, do the monthly membership just to play around with it. See if you really like it, see if you really enjoy it. I feel like you can get a good image and that nostalgic image, especially for certain film projects or even weddings. I feel like it would benefit you dearly. If you don't want to get the full Dehancer Pro suite, there actually is breakdowns of certain parts of the suite that you can get for a little bit cheaper, if that helps you. But if you want the all-in-one package, the Dehancer Pro is the way to go. Normally it costs $700 American, but today is your lucky day because you watch this video. You get 10% off if you use my name in the checkout. Dominic Grandoni, no spaces. I will leave it all in the description below, and you'll get 10% off on your purchase of the Dehancer product. So if you're looking for the best formulation tool, do recommend Dehancer Pro, do recommend the Lightroom plugin if you're just a photographer. I feel like you can benefit dearly from these products. especially to get that realistic film look. All those film characteristics, the halation, the bloom, the film damage, the gate weave, all those things. Glad I can give you my experience with Dehancer Pro, and I'm gonna be looking forward to putting out the next video. I'm gonna be going away traveling next week. I'll probably post this video before I put that other video out for you guys. Taking a little bit of time off. I have to do some wedding stuff. I'm traveling for my wedding. And yeah, my schedule is not gonna be really consistent for the next few weeks. It's gonna be on a week-to-week basis to see if I can even make a video for you guys. Maybe I'll do some vlogs. Definitely gonna do some vlogs when I travel for my wedding, so you'll see that probably in a month or so. But looking forward to the next video, guys. If you have any questions on the Dehancer Pro suite, message me. I'll do my best to answer all your questions, as well as the Lightroom plugin. We'll see you on the next video. Ciao.